All right, good morning and welcome to another weekly wisdom. It is a Tuesday and it's 9 a.m. Eastern, so I am here to share another weekly wisdom, another little tidbit about diversity, equity, and inclusion that hopefully you can take and run with. So today's weekly wisdom is all about floating holidays. We will be talking about what 3 reasons you should have floating holidays. That's what it's all about, because we know that there are actually quite a few organizations that don't have floating holidays. And sometimes when I bring it up with clients who might be looking to be more inclusive, they're unsure of what it is and they have a lot of questions. So let's talk about those 3 reasons today. But first, I'd like to explain what a floating holiday is. So, what is a floating holiday? Here's a definition for you. It comes from Indeed.com. A floating holiday is a benefit you can offer your employees in addition to paid time off or vacations. Employees can use it as a substitute for a public holiday and can typically choose which days they want to take off at their own discretion. Example, religious holidays, special event, birthdays. So this is important because sometimes when people think about floating holidays, they think that it's only for organizations that don't already observe holidays. But no, this is in addition to PTOs and any holidays that your organization has already committed to. And this is important because we can see that a floating holiday can really make a difference. So here are 3 reasons why you should consider having a floating holiday within your organization if you don't already. So let's jump right in with reason number 1. And hopefully this is not a surprise to you, but having floating holidays can truly demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know that when people feel that they are valued and have that flexibility to be their full selves, in some instances, that means being able to celebrate a cultural or religious holiday. It can go a long way to making them feel included. It also demonstrates that you want to bring in that diversity, that you want people who have different backgrounds and who may celebrate or experience different holidays or different days in different ways. So it, of course, demonstrates a commitment to diversity and inclusion. Next, we know that it can also allow people who would otherwise use PTO to save it. Here's the thing. What you might forget is that there are many people who are used to taking paid time off in order to be able to engage with their families and to engage in their cultural or religious observances. And they can save that PTO then and actually use it for times when they're ready to take vacation. Of course, when you think about people who are maybe aligned with the more dominant cultural or religious holidays, they don't have to worry about taking PTO for a religious or cultural holiday that they or their family observes, because right now the dominant culture is something that is dictating their schedule. And if they're aligned with that dominant culture, then that's a real privilege. They don't have to think about taking these extra days. When you have floating holidays, these are days in addition to paid time off, you can allow people who would otherwise use PTO to save that PTO. Here's the next reason. This can retain and attract top talent. We know that flexibility is becoming more and more a topic of conversation. Employees everywhere are looking for ways that their employees or that their employers can be more flexible and can allow them the kind of lifestyle and experiences that they desire. And having floating holidays is a marker of that. So you'll want to be thinking about these 3 things next time you have the opportunity to institute floating holidays. Let's go through those again so that we make sure we are crystal clear on some of the 3 reasons you should consider having these holidays. And of course, this isn't comprehensive. There's so many reasons why you should consider having these floating holidays. So the first was because it demonstrates a commitment to diversity and inclusion. It allows people who would otherwise use PTO to save that PTO, and it retains and attracts top talent, specifically those looking for flexibility. So while we're at it, while we're here together, I also wanted to share with you some frequently asked questions, some things that I often hear people ask as they're thinking about instituting floating holidays. And these frequently asked questions I'm going to answer them quickly here, but of course, there are a lot of different ways to think about this. And this is a topic that could take even longer than 10 minutes. But our weekly wisdoms just take 10 minutes, so I'm going to make this quick. So here's one question that we usually hear or see. Are floating holidays paid or unpaid? We've seen them go both ways. We've seen some organizations pay people and have them be paid days like any PTO that might be offered as well. We've also seen some organizations do this unpaid. Now, my preference and what I would suggest if you have the flexibility is that they be paid so that people are not thinking twice about taking these days off. They are truly a benefit that they can take when the time is right based on their needs. The next question that I often hear is, how many should employees get? Well, we hear companies having a couple of different approaches to this. Usually I'll see 2 or 3 days that are floating holidays offered to employees. That's kind of the general norm. So no standalone fixed rule, but 2 or 3 will do the trick as a rule. Next question I often see is this only applicable for companies that work during standard holidays? And I've put standard in quotation marks here because, of course, when we say standard, we're talking about the ones that everyone within our space, within maybe our country or within our geographic location, the holidays that are typically observed by organizations within that space. And of course, what we know is that that is often dictated by the dominant culture within the workplace, within those regions. So standard is a bit of a kind of fluid term there. And so, of course, this is not just applicable to companies that work during standard holidays. Floating holidays did really get their start within companies that could not take those days off and ended up offering those to different employees. And that's how some of the concepts around floating holidays took off. But now we would definitely suggest that you first outline those holidays that you offer, and then that you consider figuring out what, in addition to that, individuals are interested in taking for their PTO. So this is not just applicable for companies that have work during standard holidays. Great. Well, we're almost done with our weekly wisdom. I did want to suggest that you consider taking a look at our C Network blog or insights page, because on our insights page, we have a whole post all about making your next holiday season inclusive. And this was something that I wrote late last year, I believe. And so there they are, flexible. Those floating holidays are there. But you can see additional suggestions for how to make your holiday season more inclusive. And honestly, this feels a bit top of mind right now because we're heading into April, and April is a time when, especially this year, we are seeing a lot of different cultural observances and holidays coming into play. So hopefully you're thinking about ways to make that experience more inclusive for all of your employees, and floating holidays can help. With that, that was this week's Weekly Wisdom. Please make sure that you check us out at cnetwork.com, or if you're interested in working with us, that you schedule a consultation at cnetwork.com/consultation. And until next time, I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.